Hey, so the Trump regime is going to stage a false flag attack on Key West, okay? They're going to claim that these are Cuban drones attacking Key West, Guantanamo Bay, American warships. All of this is bullshit. The Cubans do not have the ability to do this, and on top of that, they are not in the position to be doing this. This is the new version of Operation Northwoods. I'm going to say that again, Operation Northwoods. Please look up Operation Northwoods, okay?
Did you know that in 1962, America's top generals approved a plan to murder their own citizens? Operation Northwoods was a classified CIA proposal that would stage fake terrorist attacks across the United States. The Joint Chiefs of Staff signed off on every horrific detail. They planned to shoot down passenger planes filled with innocent Americans, then blame Cuba for the massacre. Miami would be bombed. Washington, D.C. would face coordinated terrorist strikes. Cuban refugees fleeing to America would be deliberately drowned at sea, their deaths used as propaganda. Remote-controlled aircraft would crash into buildings while fake passenger lists were released to the press. The military calculated exactly how many civilians needed to die to justify invading Cuba. Each attack was designed for maximum emotional impact on the American public. President Kennedy read the proposal and refused to sign it. One signature stood between approval and mass murder of American citizens by their own government.
The only reason they didn't follow through with that was because we had a president like JFK who was balls. He had big enough balls to stand up to the fucking CIA, okay? Donald Trump does not, and on top of that, he actually loves this shit. He loves causing chaos. So yes, the United States government is going to attack the United States of America. It is most likely going to be in Key West, Florida. It's also going to be U.S. warships and U.S. bases around Cuba. We are going to false flag attack our own people. I'm telling you right now what's going to happen. I don't give a fuck if you don't believe me or not. I'm giving you early fucking warning. You come back here when I'm right, like you always fucking do. But yes, please, if you live in these areas, you need to understand what is coming for you. The United States government is going to try to kill you, and they're going to claim that it is fucking Cuba doing it.
Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rukakradash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim, pushing this word across the four corners of the world. And just another news update through the spirit, the power, and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. And of course, as you can see with current news or current events upon the world stage, and by the way, Klaus Schwab, who is the founder of the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, he stated years ago of how the World Economic Forum will unleash an era of shock events to bring about a globalist NWO. And everything that we're seeing transpiring around the world, hence geopolitics, is all forwarding or shifting gears to this left-handed NWO. So within this lesson, according to Axios, they came out with an article some days ago, and they stated how Cuba has acquired more than 300 military drones and are planning to use them against American targets, like the U.S. base at Guantanamo Bay, Key West, Florida, which is like 90 miles north of Havana, Cuba, and also U.S. military vessels. And this so-called info is considered as classified intelligence, according to Axios. And everybody's starting to see the gameplay that's being utilized by Esau Edom via out of his tacky playbook. It's the same scenario, rinse and repeat, like how he did with Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq. We are seeing what's transpiring right now with Iran and also Cuba. And also to mention, I want to say Cuba and North Korea stands as the only two countries without a Rothschild centralized banking system. And now, pursuant to America's mainstream news or propaganda, they are trying to sway the masses how Cuba is now an imminent threat to America. But meanwhile, the people within Cuba are experiencing some very significant food shortages that's being tied to the broader economic pressure or burdens, or more so sanctions that's coming from America. And also energy crisis, and where Cuba is not within a position to enact war upon anyone, yet alone America are the hammer of the earth. And as with Cuba right now can barely have the privilege to have electricity on for 24 hours. They're constantly going through nationwide blackouts. and like I stated earlier, food shortages. So now this American government is going back to their same tacky playbook, and now they're trying to gaslight Cuba to the masses that did not want to drink that Babylonian wine. And now they would be propagated as the new boogeyman or the new bad guy. So everyone is seeing how this is an engineered plan or plot, more so being manufactured by Mossad and the CIA, to the point where America will hit their own with military drone strikes, then blame this tragedy upon Cuba for an invasion. So again, through the spirit, expect an era of shock events, which goes into these psychological operations or false flag operations or manufactured or staged events that's being conjured up by the man of sin himself, Esau Edom. And where the scriptures clearly tells us as the Israelites to never trust your enemy. And our main biblical arch enemy is the tabernacle of Esau Edom. And that takes me to the book of Psalm 144, verse 11. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, or the main workers of iniquity, which is the tabernacle of Esau Edom, who happens to be the so-called Caucasian race within today's time, whose mouth speak vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. So he's within that same spirit as the serpent that was within the garden with Eve. And what did it say within Genesis, the 3rd chapter? How that serpent was more subtle than any beast in the field, which goes into how very crafty, very devious, and how very artful he is with his deceptive tactics or schemes. Hence, Operation Northwoods, which was a proposed covert operation by the U.S. Department of Defense and also the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff in 1962. And this top secret plan was again to stage terrorist attacks, like staging terrorist bombings within different U.S. cities, hijacking American commercial planes, and simulating a passenger attack. And they wanted to plant this fake evidence and doctor photos to frame Cuba. So therefore they could be justified to provoke war with Cuba, which would give them the justification to overthrow Fidel Castro at the time frame. However, this proposed covert operation was declined by President JFK. He wanted to dismantle the CIA and the Federal Reserve. And like a year later, what happened to him? He got clipped. And these are some of the consequences when you don't want to drink that Babylonian wine. They will create the same false narrative, like this weapons of mass destruction propaganda, upon a particular country or a country's leader that do not want to abide by America's democracy. And we have seen this rinse and repeat method being played out many, many times, to the point where the masses are starting to wake up and see through America's lies. So again, rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, in their right hand, which goes into like a place of honor or integrity or respect, which are notable characteristics that the man of sin, again, Esau Edom, that do not possess. So in their right hand, it's a right hand of falsehood. And that goes into his lies, his false narratives via his mainstream propaganda to sway and coerce the masses to believe his agenda. Pursuant to the book of Psalm 58, how in their heart they work wickedness and weigh the violence of your hands in the earth, and how the wicked are estranged from the womb. And as soon as they are born, they are speaking lies. And that's because their poison is like the poison of a serpent. Again, going back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, how that serpent was more subtle than any creature or beast within the field. So now a great number of the masses are starting to see through Esau's conniving tactics, schemes, just the way that he has been manipulating the world since its existence, which is more proof or evidence that the wicked is being more revealed, which is all associated with the end of Esau's world. Because now within this thing that we call life, which is the movie of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, what mainly happens within that movie or a series? The main audience started to see the truth. Everything started to be revealed or come out to the open who the protagonist is, which is the good guy or the main character. And the protagonist's opposition, which is the antagonist or the bad guy, or the opposing character be revealed as well. And now, throughout that movie, it's starting to make sense, which can correlate to the end-time biblical prophecies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, which is why a great majority of the masses are starting to point out the wicked, and more so the chief synagogue of Satan, which is Amalek, the small hats, who are engineering this global order out of chaos. And that takes me to the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 27, within the NLT, the New Living Translation. And it says, the heavens will reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against them. So Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua just opened up the floodgates of truth within these latter times. And now again, everybody's starting to see who the wicked is according to the Bible. And that is the tabernacle of Esau Edom, and more so the upper echelon of them. And let's not get it twisted how the lower level Edomites are wicked as well, but the main ones who are really orchestrating this global order out of chaos, causing global tensions, warmongering, things of that sort, which goes into these left-handed banking elites. So again, the heavens will reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against them, which is more proof how the man of sin, again, Esau Edom, is being on trial. Because according to Wisdom of Solomon 1 verse 9, for inquisition, which goes into an inquiry or investigation or interrogation. And according to the judge, the jury, or the prosecutors, who are they mainly looking for? Witnesses. Pursuant to Revelation, the 11th chapter and the 3rd verse, how Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua will give power unto his two witnesses. And that represents the elect of the nation of Israel from the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Hence, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua's spokesman, who are coming within that vibration that shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, which are the servants, the prophets. And that third witness can be equivalent to these truthers or whistleblowers, who were once a part of these dark secret councils of Esau Edom, and now they are coming out to the forefront, spilling the beans of Esau's sinister agendas. So going back to this Cuba ordeal, and where the U.S. and Cuba's relations over the years have been very heightened, very intensified, and more so now, especially during Trump's second term. And Cuba has been experiencing some extensive blackouts all across the country, where their outages are impacting the water supply, lighting, refrigeration, and communications, to the point now where they're saying Cuba is on the verge of a power grid collapse, which is all engineered, by the way. And according to the Cuban Minister of Energy and Mines, he announced during press conference how Cuba has ran out of fuel reserves. So now, due to Cuba's dire power grid crisis, here comes the U.S. sticking their noses into other people's business and now pressuring Cuba to make a deal. And even though the U.S. has an embassy over there in Cuba, like, why not take care of home first? But that shows you it's more of a sinister agenda at hand. And that takes me to Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, and the 4th verse. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just should live by his faith. So the first part right here, how his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, that is referring to the tabernacle of Esau Edom. And this is a nation of people that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua preordained to be made crooked, and they cannot be made straight. So by default, they're the ultimate can't get right. Like, just like when you play a video game and you have the option to create a player, you can mold that particular character according to your likings, looks, characteristics, accessories, things of that sort. Well, that's how Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua created Esau Edom. He was created to be adverse unto righteousness, morality, or honesty. So again, that which is crooked cannot be made straight. And once you go to the word crooked, it goes into like unlawful. Again, the man of sin. So behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just, referring to the elect of the nation of Israel, should live by his faith. Yea, also because he, referring to Esau Edom again, transgressed by wine. When you transgress, that means that you're going out of bounds, or you are crossing the boundaries. Hence the standards of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua via the law, statutes, and commandments. and where Esau Edom has twisted the Most High's laws, his instructions for the planet Earth. And Esau Edom has came up with his artificial laws and statutes, which are very grievous unto the inhabitants of the earth. So yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home. But here is your own people are financially suffering, going through it, but you always have the means to come up with the funds to aid the current state of Israel, and also have the funds for your warmongering. So these Americans are seeing how they're getting abandoned through this economic crisis, and the nations are mad, as is stated within Revelation. But right here it says again, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. So Esau Edom, via his main hub of wickedness, America, that sinful kingdom, they are very insatiable when it comes to power, greed, corruption, and destruction. He can never have enough, which is built up pride, which is why Esau's fall, along with America, is going to be the greatest fall. And look how reckless America has been moving lately, with Venezuela, Iran, and now this situation with Cuba. He's the worldwide police, but meanwhile, he's intentionally neglecting his homeland, America. When you have your own U.S. veterans being homeless, living under the bridges, begging for food, and just a homeless crisis within America in general. So he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heap it unto him all people. Hence this left-handed NWO. And it says, should not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long, and to him that laded himself with thick clay. And once you go to the word clay in the Hebrew, it goes into ibatya, which means heavy debts. Like America's total debt is like $39 trillion. And that's what they show us on paper on these sites, which is definitely way more than that. So that's more of an excuse for the elites of Esau Edom to drive this American dollar down the hole. So therefore they can be justified by instituting a global digital reset, and where paper currency, such as the American dollar, will be a thing of the past. Verse 7, shall they not rise up suddenly that should bite thee, and await that should vex thee, and thou should be for booties unto them, which goes into like being a spoil. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. So the main point right here, thou hast spoiled many nations, which goes into how you plundered, you have destroyed or ruined many nations via your Babylonian wine, which has really intoxicated the four corners of the world. Because if anyone doesn't accept or kneel down to America's democracy, then they will be economically outcast. Hence the Cuba blockade, which is a long-standing embargo and more so a sanction or restriction that was imposed upon Cuba within the early 1960s due to Cuba's so-called revolution being spearheaded by Fidel Castro. So America has that gangster mindset, if you don't want to lay down, then you're going to stay down. So by imposing these economic restrictions upon Cuba, it can economically strangle a nation. Where Cuba has limited access to most trade between the U.S. and Cuba, being limited to certain travel and tourism activities, or Cuba having limited access to U.S. banking and credit systems, preventing foreign countries to do business with Cuba. So within a nutshell, via this Cuba blockade, you have limited access to food, medicine, fuel, technology, and communications. And that's how America can economically strangle a nation via these economic hitmen. And that's just one of the very many aspects how Esau Edom can utilize his sword on their left-hand side via Babylon, being a great devastator upon the earth. Which takes me to Jeremiah 50 verse 23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken, how is Babylon or America become a desolation among the nations. And once you go to this word hammer, it goes into devastator. Because Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua has blessed Esau Edom on their left-hand side, which is the sword, and where that sword comes into many fashions and forms, and where he can spiritually, economically, morally, or physically devastate someone, which goes into ruin or destroy. But it's only for so long you can have your way with people. And within this case, how Esau Edom weaponized America to really be a havoc upon the earth. Like that type of negative energy can only go for so long, until when Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is going to give you your just due. Which is why America or Babylon the Great has a divine appointment unto Judgment Day. And we're soon about to be taken off the world stage, along with Esau's rulership or dominance. So that pretty much concludes the lesson through the Spirit. It's just more so highlighting how America or Babylon the Great is applying their same tacky, rinse and repeat method by utilizing one of his many swords via mainstream propaganda and to demonize Cuba upon the world stage, create a public outcry such as Cuba's power crisis, and only for America to manufacture an excuse to invade Cuba. And like how I stated earlier, we're at that point within the movie how the audience, going into the masses of the people in this time, are not being easily persuaded through Esau's lies anymore. And that type of witchcraft or enchantments have been working for him for many centuries. But now we are approaching the end of Esau's world, and where the Heavenly Father Yahweh is about to soon dispatch Yahushua to close his chapter, he's now getting exposed unto the world via this world stage. And the effects of that Babylonian wine nowadays, it's not intoxicating these people as it once did many years ago. So these end-time biblical prophecies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua has Esau Edom on the ropes, where it makes more sense now through the Spirit how he knows that he has but a short time, which makes even more sense why he's soon about to get ready to come down with great wrath, because he's getting exposed and revealed on greater levels that we have never seen before. So with that, hopefully you all was edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.